Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. I further bear witness that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the Messiah and the exalted Christ, and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan is their divine reminder, warner, and servant among us. I would like to greet you all with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. As you already know, those words simply are the Arabic words for peace be unto you. Brothers and sisters, I would like to begin by thanking the Honorable Louis Farrakhan for giving me the opportunity to be before you all this morning here in Mosque Mariam and broadcasting really all throughout the world via the internet. I would also like to thank Student Minister Ishmael Muhammad, who asked me to come in his place because he had to go out of town this weekend, and so he asked me to come here in his place. I would also like to thank all of my fellow students in the ministry, Brother Jason, Brother Shaheed, Brother Abel, Brother Fontaine, all of the brothers and sisters in the ministry here in Chicago. And I would also like to thank the believers here in Chicago who have actually been supporting me and showing me love since I've been here in the city of Chicago. So, brothers and sisters, I must begin by saying that I am a student of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And what I attempt to teach you today is what this mighty man of God has been teaching us for the last 50+ years. Recently, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan on Wednesday spoke at Chicago State University. I don't know if you were there, but he was speaking to the students at Chicago State, and in his lecture on education, he brought up the fact that the enemy is killing us through the foods that we eat. So now, what we're going to talk about today, the title of my subject is entitled, Going Ham, the Truth About Pork. Now, I know some of you may not know what going ham means, so I'm going to explain it. Going ham is a slang term that means going hard. The rappers have a phrase, either go hard or go home, right? You hear Waka Flocka, and he says that he goes hard in the paint, right? Now, somebody gonna get mad because I'm quoting Waka Flocka in Mosque Mariam. I understand, I'm just making a point. So now, as a Muslim, in the world of the wicked, the Holy Quran teaches us to be hard on the devil, is that right? In fact, the Prophet said, I'm talking about Prophet Muhammad, he said that one learned Muslim is harder on the devil than 1,000 ignorant worshipers. So what we want you to do, we're not here to get you excited. We're not here to get you running up and down the aisle, catching the Holy Ghost, and one of the sisters in white come and fan you because you did some backflips. That's not what we want. We want you to get knowledge. We want you to be a learned Muslim. All a Muslim is a person that obeys God. Because one learned Muslim is harder on the devil than 1,000 ignorant worshipers. Are y'all with me? So now, today we're going ham. All the Muslims don't get mad at me. All it means is we're going hard. There's a rapper, his name is The Game. I didn't even know that was up there. He has a song called 500 Bars. In that song, he has a line that says, love Farrakhan, but I'm about to go ham. So I'm saying the same exact thing that The Game said. I love the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, but I'm about to go ham. So now, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings affect every aspect of the lives of those who accept his teachings. Are y'all with me? See, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, if you accept what he teaches, I didn't say if you hear what he teaches. There's a difference between hearing what he teaches and accepting what he teaches. If you talk to people who have accepted the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, then you ask them, that man has a 100% approval rating among the people that have accepted. If you talk to the people that have accepted what he teaches, they all have changed and transformed their life for the better. Are y'all listening? This man teaches transforms human life in every aspect. Thank you. So this is change that we can believe in. I know you voted for Obama, and you thought that something was going to change, and things got worse, right? And don't lead the minds talking about we hating on Obama, because it's not his fault that things got worse. We're looking at the fall of America. Now, let's move on. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote 2 books. The name of those 2 books are How to Eat to Live, book 1 and 2. You may be familiar with these books. We're going to go into these books today. Now, he wrote 1 book on the fall of America, but he wrote 2 books on how to eat to live. Are y'all following me? We call the books How to Eat to Live, but the real title of the book is From God in Person, Master Farad Muhammad, How to Eat to Live. Because he's telling you where he's getting the knowledge that's in these books from. See, whenever the manufacturer makes something, you go get a new iPod, right? And the iPod comes with what? Instructions. You go get a new car and you open the glove compartment and the car comes with what? Instructions. You buy a television and the television comes with what? Instructions. Well, where are the instructions for your life? And if we have instructions for life, it has to come from who? The author of life. So the instructions for life have to come from Almighty God, Allah. Y'all following me? All praise is due to Allah. Now, I already know what you're saying, because we've been to church, right? We've been taken advantage of by preachers. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan is not that kind of preacher. So we always think that somebody is lying to us, right? But if we look at our condition bears witness, what? That we've already been lied to. Every city you travel in the United States of America, every city, every county, every whatever, valley, I don't care. Black people are on the bottom, right? All over the world you travel, even in Africa. You mean black people on the bottom in Africa? Absolutely. It is because we have been deceived. Our condition bears witness that we've been lied to. Some of you sisters, somebody told you, well, if you dress naked, that'll help you get a man, right? So what did you do? You dressed naked, right? And then what happened? You got a man, but did he stay? No. Then the next one came, right? Did he stay? No. Then the next, did he stay? None of them stayed. So evidently what? We were lied to, right? So now somebody told you, man, brother, look, here's what you do, man. So you take this right here. So you gotta hug that block, man. I'm saying you gotta be posted like the stop sign. Man, I'm telling you, do that, you get that money, you be the biggest drug dealer in Chicago, right? And you believed him. And then you at 26 in California explaining why you did such and such and so, right? So who are the people that have lived that lifestyle and actually have got away with it? You can't find an example. You watch American Gangster on BET, all of them got caught, right? You see Big Meech, right? Larry Hoover, what happened to him? They got caught. Are y'all with me? So evidently we've been lied to. Someone told you that if you become a star basketball player or a great football player or a rapper, that you would be successful, that everything would be all right, you would escape the hood, right? So now what's happening to the rappers? The basketball players, the football players. They believed it, but now they're in bankruptcy. Are y'all with me? Let's move on. So, brothers and sisters, today we want you to reason with us. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that reason is the highest form of mental mathematics. So we're going to give you the facts, and all we want you to do is reason on the facts. We're not trying, well, I can't say that we're not trying to change your life, because we are. But see, change is not a negative thing if the change is for the better. Everybody who has accepted the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad has changed. Now, before I became a follower of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, we're not condemning you for the way you eat. I'm going to share this with you. I used to work at McDonald's. I was in high school. And this is before I became a Muslim. And I worked breakfast in the summertime, right? And if you've ever worked at McDonald's, they have a machine to make the pancakes. You push the button and it squirts out batter into the perfectly sized pancake. So now we're changing over from breakfast to lunch. And I have the batter in the machine and I'm pushing the button on the grill, right? And the pancake is spreading out further and further and further. So then I get 2 spatulas, right? And flip the pancake over, bam. Then I go to the bacon tray and get all the bacon that was left over from breakfast and lay it on top of this huge pancake, right? And then I roll it up like a blunt and take it down to the break room and eat it. So now, that's how I used to eat. If my mother was in here right now, she would say, all that boy did was ate meat and bread. He didn't eat nothing else. Meat and bread. You couldn't tell me to eat vegetables. If you wanted me to eat fruit, it had to be a strawberry now later. That's the only way. I'm not eating fruit. You understand what I'm saying? It's meat, bread, and Kool-Aid. What else is there? Are y'all following me? All praise is due to Allah. So now, when I worked at McDonald's, I worked at all the fast food restaurants. I worked at McDonald's, and when we would close, I would drop 20 chicken nuggets, like 1 minute before close. I would just drop them, bam, right? So as soon as we were closed, if I'm washing dishes or cleaning the grill, I'm eating the chicken nuggets. Are y'all following me? So we're not condemning you for the way that you eat, because all of us that came this way, we all ate something crazy, right? But when knowledge comes, it transforms our life. So when I became a Muslim, I was still working at McDonald's. I was such a hard worker. I went to school, came back, and the man let me work there for the summer. The McDonald's I worked at was privately owned, so the owner actually worked in the McDonald's that I worked at. So after I joined the Nation of Islam, all I did was drink coffee. And the man came to me. He was like, my God, you used to eat all of my food. Now all you do is drink coffee and read books. What's wrong with you? Not what's right with you. I took a pancake and rolled up bacon in it like a blunt, and they didn't have a problem with that. But as soon as I started only drinking coffee and reading books, now there's a problem, because that's not the normal activity of a Negro. Are y'all following what I'm saying? All praise is due to Allah. So now, brothers and sisters, there are a lot of diets out there that you hear about. You have the Atkins diet, you have the detox diet, you have the South Beach diet, the high protein diet, the low carb diet, Jenny Craig, and I'm sure there's some other ones, right? But now, none of these people can guarantee you that you would never get sick. This man says in this book that if you eat the way he instructs you to eat from God, not from him, from God, that you would never get sick. They can't promise that you will live as long as you want to live. I already know what you think. You think that when you were born, God took out his calculator and he assigned a certain number of years to your life and you have no control over it. Where you leave when God wants you to leave. Hold on, wait a minute. The way you live determines when you're gonna die. Hold on, I need you to be with me. The way you live determines when you are going to die. See, God has so much respect for you, so much love for you, that he doesn't assign a certain number of years for you to live. He allows you to live as long as you want to live based on the way you live your life. Now, wait a minute. If you see a brother, he's on the block, he's selling drugs, right? He's shooting up the block, he robbing the currency exchange, he robs the liquor store, he knocking fools out. You already know he's not gonna do what? He's not gonna live that long. Is it because God has sat down on a cloud and assigned a certain number of years for him to live? Or does he engage in an activity that is gonna bring his life to an early end? Which one is it? You understand what I'm saying? So we're not under any illusion that that type of person is not going to have a long life. Are y'all following me? You see somebody and they on the highway driving drunk. We're not under any illusion that they're going to live a long life if they continue in that type of activity. It's the way you live that determines when you're going to die. So this man says, these are the guarantees. If you follow what he teaches, you'll never get sick. If you follow what he teaches, you'll never be obese. You'll never be overweight. If you follow what he teaches, you will look young for the rest of your life. You don't even believe that, I understand. That's because you have not accepted yet what he teaches. We're going to break it all the way down. So now, the Holy Quran says this. It says, and if you obey most of those in the earth, they will lead you astray from Allah's way. They follow not but conjecture, and they only lie. So now, if you follow the Atkins diet, the South Beach diet, the detox, the high protein, Jenny Craig, they only follow conjecture, meaning they're guessing at the way to live, but this man has been taught from God the way for us to live. Are y'all following me? So now, what does Jesus say in the Bible? Jesus says in John chapter 10, verse 10, that I have come that they might have life and have it more abundantly. But now, when I was growing up, I read that, you heard that in church. I thought that when we all got to heaven, we would be standing in a line, and Jesus would have a magic wand in his hand. And he said, well, you did okay. I'm going to give you another 50 years, hit you on the head. You were really good. I'm going to give you 70 years. And then go, well, you tried to do everything right, and you got 100 more years. That's what I thought. I'm sure you thought something similar, right? So now, Jesus does not explain in the Bible how abundant life is going to come about. Are y'all with me? But he just says that his followers are going to have abundant life. So now, let's deal with this number one enemy. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad says in How to Eat to Live, there's 3 main points. The first point is the most important point, which is get rid of all pork. Remove all pork from your diet. The second one is to eat 1 meal a day. The third one is to eat the proper foods at the proper time. Those are the 3 most important things. So now the first thing we're going to deal with, which is what you need to do today. If you have some ham in the refrigerator, throw it in the trash can. If you have some pig feet or some chitlins or some of my Hispanic brothers and sisters, some menudo, we're telling you right now, throw it in the trash can. Why? See, brother, I'm not going to just listen to what you say because some religious doctrine from a book that was written 2,000 years ago. We're going to deal not only with the religious doctrine, but the scientific proof. So now, the word pig in Arabic, it comes from an Arabic word that is called khanzir, which means in English, I see the animal foul and very foul. Are y'all following me? That is how the pig is described. Now, why is the pig described in Arabic as an animal that is foul and very foul? The pig is an animal that was never intended for human beings to eat. Are y'all following me? See, there's certain animals that God made that are designed to clean the earth of the filth left from other animals. Are y'all with me? The pig is one of those animals. A pig will eat absolutely anything. Anything you give a pig, it's going to eat it. The purpose of the pig is to clean the earth of filth. There was a time where there were no pigs. The pig is a grafted animal. So teaches the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Grafted from 3 other animals, the cat, the rat, and the dog. So now, when you graft these 3 animals, that is how the pig came into being. What do you mean? Man, I don't sound right, you know? Like, man, that sounds like something that Elijah Muhammad just made up to me. Okay, stop the press. It's okay if white folks do it. You go to the grocery store and they put a fish gene in a tomato so the tomato doesn't get rotten, and you can accept it because it's coming from white people, right? Or they biologically engineer milk so that it doesn't spoil. Are y'all follow what I'm saying? If you look at the science of biological engineering, as Brother Jason and others have pointed out, that the enemy, they have a sheep, and they grafted the sheep and the spider. Is that right? Am I saying it right? The goat and the spider, thank you. So that the goat's milk will produce silk like the spider produces silk for its web. So now we can accept it once the white man says it, but we can't accept it from the man that was taught by God himself. That's because we need the white man's stamp of approval. But we're going to bring some white men to bear witness to what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches, to prove to you that he's from God. So now, the pigs are animals that eat their own feces. Now, if somebody brought you a plate of flies, I got a picture of a fly. If somebody brought you a plate of flies and said, here, eat this, you wouldn't eat that, right? Because you were in Jackson Park or one of these other parks, and you saw some flies on doo-doo. So you know, I know it's grossing you out, you know that if somebody brought you a plate of flies, you're not going to eat it because you saw the flies eating doo-doo, right? You get that out of my face, but it has chocolate on it. Man, get that out of here, man. I don't want that. Man, flies be eating doo-doo. So now, the pig does the same thing. But see, the enemy is smart enough to hide from you the lifestyle of the pig so that when he puts it on the commercial as the other white meat, you will accept it. Are you following what I'm saying? So now, why would you eat an animal that eats its own feces? That's another word for doo-doo. When you could just cut that animal out and eat it yourself. Cut the middleman out. Are y'all following me? I got a picture here. That's a picture of a pig doing what? Eating some doo-doo. Why would you eat that? The purpose of the pig is to clean the earth of filth. It is a scavenger. Scavengers eat things that are dead. When something is dead and it dies of itself, then when it dies and rigor mortis sets in, then the poison of death is in the thing that is dead. Are y'all following me? This is why if somebody died right now, we call 911. Because the longer you're around something that's dead, then the dead thing starts to kill what's living. Are y'all following me? So you immediately get rid of something that's dead. But here's an animal that feeds on dead things. Why would you then eat that animal? Unless you want to do what? Unless you want to die. This is why people don't want to live around black folks. Because black people are what? Dead. And the longer you're around the dead, what happens? You start to die, right? The only people that will live around you are the followers of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Because the death of the black community cannot change us because we do what? We change it. That should let you know that this man is from God. Let's move on. So now, a pig, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad says, is 99.9% poison. The pig is so poisonous that you can't poison it with another poison. You understand? So now, you may say, well, if you feed the pig, today we're taking away all your excuses. Well, see, brother, see, if you feed the pig a better food, it's not going to be poison. Just feed it grains and whole wheat, and it's not going to be poisonous no more. Okay, take that same logic. If we had a rattlesnake, and we fed the rattlesnake grains and oats, right, and gave the rattlesnake the best diet, and then let the rattlesnake bite you, would you still be poisoned by the rattlesnake? Hold on. If we took a hive of bees and we gave the bees the best nectar, right, that you could find in the plant world, right, made sure that the plants had the best water and didn't even put them in the sunlight, just put them in ultraviolet light inside so no pollution would affect those plants. And then we shook up the beehive and shoved it in your face. And the bees stung you, would the bee sting be poisonous? Okay. If we took some poison ivy and we planted it in the best soil and gave it the best water and the best sunlight and cared for that poison ivy, then rubbed it on your face, would it still be poison? Absolutely. Because nature made it to be that way. So you could give it the best food, the best water, and the thing that nature made to be poison will what? Will be poison. The pig is the same way. Are y'all with me? The pig, by nature, you can't change it by giving it better food. It is by nature a poisonous animal. So now, the pig lives about 27 years. So we, our people, and our Hispanic brothers and sisters, we like to eat the intestines. You call them chitlins. You need to take the C off, as they say, and replace it with an S, right? Now, you call them chitlins. Our Hispanic brothers and sisters call it menudo, right? So now, the chitlins holds the bowel movement or the doo-doo of a pig for 20 to 27 years. Now, I grew up in the South, so I know how they clean chitlins. They get one end and they hold it with their hand. They put water on the other end, and then they hold it with this hand. They shake it up and down, and then they let it go, and all the doo-doo falls out. Then that which just had doo-doo in it, they take it in the house and put it in a pot and cook it. Now the whole house is smelling like what? Doo-doo. Then you give it to your children and they put hot sauce on it and do what? Eat it for Thanksgiving. So now, what's wrong with that picture? If I invited you to my house, sat you down at my table, about to give you your food, but before I gave you your food, I took your plate and your cup in the bathroom and I doo-dooed on it and I doo-dooed in your cup. And then I brought it to you and showed it to you. And then I washed it off with soap and put your food on it. Would you eat it? So if you wouldn't eat off a plate that had it on there, why would you eat something that had doo-doo in it for 27 years? We taking away all your excuses. So now, you may say, well, see, man, pigs ain't the only animals that eat their own doo-doo. Okay, I got the list of all the animals that eat their own doo-doo. Let's see. And let's see how many animals on this list do you eat. Pigs eat their own. Dogs, cats, gorillas, guinea pigs, rabbits, chinchillas, elephants, pandas, koalas, flies, and termites. So now, out of all of those animals, which one do we eat? There's only one on the list, right? Well, some of y'all may eat rabbit down south, but most of y'all not eating no rabbit, right? You're not going to Harold's asking for a rabbit snack, are you? With fries, no, you're not. So now, we don't want to hear your excuse. Well, pigs aren't the only animals that eat doo-doo. They're the only animals that you eat that eat doo-doo, so that's enough. Are y'all following me? So now, let's see, what does the Bible and the Holy Quran say about eating pork? Are y'all with me? Let's go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 11, verse 7 and 8. It says, and the swine, though he divided the hoof and be cloven-footed, yet cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. Of their flesh shall ye not eat, and of their carcass shall ye not touch. They are unclean to you. The word Leviticus means the law. So when God raised up Moses, he gave him a law for the children of Israel. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad has given us a similar law. Are y'all following me? I know we as black people, we have been trained by the enemy not to like law or rules or regulations. But everything in life, everything is governed by law, by rules, by regulations. Whether that activity is right or whether that activity is wrong, it's still governed by rules. Are y'all following me? If I go to somebody and I get some drugs, right? And I say I had your money back in a week. Then I add a whole bunch of baking soda and powder to the drugs, and then I sell it to the crackheads, right? And I don't pay the man the money back. I have just violated the what? The law of the street, right? So even if I'm engaged in a wrong activity, there's still law that governs what? Wrongdoing. So you think that, well, I don't want to be a Muslim because they got rules, because they got laws. The only way, listen to me, the only way that you can be free is through law, because it's the law that frees you. Let me give you an example. We have a law in the universe called the law of gravity. And the law of gravity makes everything on earth incline to the earth. So now you may say that this law of gravity restricts me. This law of gravity is preventing me from being free so I can fly. Are you really? When you go in space where there is no gravity, right? If somebody pushes you, do you have the freedom, the ability to stop yourself? No, you don't. You just keep floating until you hit something, right? Because there's no gravity. So what does gravity do? Gravity is a law that gives us who are on earth the freedom of movement. The only way that we can move, for example, you can turn because gravity allows you to turn, right? You have the freedom of movement. If there was no gravity, we would not have the freedom to go where we want to go. Are y'all following me? So now, what gravity does, though it's a law, it frees you. You see the boats on the water, right? And you see them downtown at Lake Michigan, right? And the boat, though the boat weighs hundreds of tons, the boat has the freedom to do what? Float on the water. So now how can a boat, you weigh 150 pounds, and you can't float on the water, but you mean this boat that weighs hundreds of tons can float on the water? How is that possible? Because the boat is designed according to a law called the law of buoyancy. So as long as the boat submits to that law, it has the freedom to float. Are y'all following me? So law does not stop you from being free. Law actually does what? Gives you the ability to freedom. So why are you running from law when you should be running where? To law. So now, in the book of Leviticus, God tells the children of Israel, don't eat the swine, don't touch the swine. Then in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 14, verse 8, Deuteronomy means the second saying of the law, because the children of Israel were hard-headed. Sound like black folks? Because it is. It says, and the swine, because it divided the hoof, yet cheweth not the cud, it is unclean to you. Ye shall not eat their flesh, nor touch their dead carcass. So now, clear in Deuteronomy, in Leviticus. Then if you go to, which is not in the PowerPoint, but I'm going to refer to it, the book of Daniel, chapter 1, verse 8. In the book of Daniel, you have Daniel and the three Hebrew boys. Are y'all with me? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were all kidnapped from Jerusalem, taken to Babylon, enslaved. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, exactly what happened to us. When they were enslaved, the Babylonians changed their names to slave names. Are y'all with me? So while they're enslaved, the captain of the guard for the king comes to Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and he says, look, he comes with the king's meat and the king's drink. And Daniel says, we don't eat that and we don't drink that, right? So the king's meat that Daniel refused to eat was pork. Are y'all following me? So the guard is like, look, you got to eat this, because if you don't eat it, you're going to get sick. So Daniel said, look, let us eat what we want to eat, and when you come back, if we're sick, then we'll eat the king's meat and we'll drink the king's drink. So when the guard came back, everybody who ate the king's meat and drank his drink was sick. The only people who were not sick were Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, because they refused to eat the king's meat and drink the king's drink. You look in the black community and we're what? We're sick, because why? We eating the king's meat and we drinking the king's drink. Let's move on. Let's go to the book of Isaiah. All praise is due to Allah. In the book of Isaiah, in chapter 65, verse 2 through 4, it says, I have spread out my hands all day unto a rebellious people, which walketh in a way that was not good after their own thoughts. a people that provoke me to anger continually to my face, and sacrifice in gardens, and burn incense upon altars of brick, which remain among the graves and lodge in their monuments, listen carefully, eating swine's flesh and the broth of abominable things in their vessels. Y'all got that? Hold on, we got another one from Isaiah. We're gonna define this word, abominable. Isaiah 66, and 17. It says, they that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree, in the midst, eating swine flesh and the abomination, and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Lord. Well, what is Isaiah talking about when he calls the swine abominable or an abomination? Let's look up the word. Abominable means repugnant, repugnantly hateful, detestable, loathsome, offensive, abhorrent, horrible, revolting, and foul, which goes back to the name of the pig, the animal, foul and very foul. So now, in the Bible, in the Old Testament, it's clear that swine flesh is prohibited. Are y'all following me? So now, I know what you're saying. We're taking all your excuses away. See, boy, I already knew all of that, but that's the old Mosaic law. We ain't under the law no more because Jesus came and he took us from under the law. Did he really? Okay, let's bring Jesus to the witness stand. Listen to what Jesus says in the book of Matthew chapter 5, verse 17 and 18. He says, think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, not one jot nor one tittle in no wise will pass from the law. So what is Jesus saying? Hey, as long as heaven and earth are here, the law is going to be here. Are y'all following me? I didn't come to change the law or the prophets. I came to fulfill it, I came to make it happen. Meaning what you read in the Old Testament, I came to put it in place. Are y'all following me? He goes on to say that whoever teaches men to go against the law will be the least in the kingdom of heaven, and whoever teaches men to follow the law will be the most in the kingdom of heaven. Are y'all with me? Let's move on, because I know what you're saying already. See, boy, you forgot about Matthew chapter 15, did we really? 15:11 is what you're talking about, right? It's not what goes in a man that defiles him. Jesus talking. It's what comes out. So now we interpret that to mean that we can eat anything and it won't defile us. I got some bleach right here on the table. I want to see you drink that and not be defiled. You can pray over it. I know it's something. See, if you just pray over it, everything will be all right. We got some bleach. You can pray over that. And we're going to see, will everything be all right? You already know the answer, right? We be on the phone with poison control, right? Talking about give them that milk you got on the table, make them throw up. So now, I know what you're saying. See, brother, see what you don't understand, really. See what I'm saying? See that back then, brother, they didn't have refrigerators, you know what I'm saying? So see, God had to tell them, because they didn't have refrigerators, don't eat pork, because they didn't have no way to keep it, in the refrigerator. Now, if God is the best knower, and God is a foreknower, and God is the all-knowing one, then don't you think that he would have seen the refrigerator coming down the line and said that, well, just for now, don't eat it? You follow what I'm saying? Just taking away all your excuses. I already know, you talking about Acts chapter 10. Peter has this vision, right? Peter has this vision of all these foods coming down, and God tells him to eat the food, right? And Peter says, well, some of these things are unclean. And then God responds, there's nothing that I've made that is unclean. So now, the meaning of that is this, that the disciples of Jesus did not want to share the teachings of Jesus with the Gentiles because they saw the Gentiles as unclean, because they were uncircumcised, because they ate pork. So what God was telling Peter in the vision was that he could now share the teachings of Jesus with the Gentiles. Are y'all following me? So now let's move on. I'm going to put up here the verses in the Holy Quran. Muslims, we don't have any, if it's in the Holy Quran, we follow it. So you're not going to find no Muslim trying to justify eating pork. So we have the verses here, chapter 2, verse 173, chapter 5, verse 3, chapter 6, verse 146, and chapter 16, verse 115. All of these say, don't eat pork. So now I know what you need. I've been teaching black folks a long time. All you need is a white man to come in front of you and say the same exact thing that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad has been saying to us for the last 80 years. Well, we got one. We're going to bring Joel Osteen. Y'all heard of that preacher, right? We're bringing him to the witness stand with this video right here. So I'm going to step away. I'm going to hand it off to my man, Joel Osteen.
And then let's talk a moment about pork, ham, bacon, pepperoni. These are some of the things that the Scripture tells us we should not eat. The ushers have already locked the doors. And of course, this has to do with anything that comes from a pig, a hog, a swine. And I know some of you love pork chops. You love ham and cheese sandwiches. I grew up on all that. I love bacon. But for our health's sake, we have to be willing to make some changes. God knows what's best for us. And back in the Bible days, the pig was considered unclean. It was never considered a source of food. And one of the main reasons why was the pig will eat anything. A pig eats waste and garbage. This is kind of gross, but a pig will eat its own dead child. A pig will eat other sick and infected animals. They're scavengers. And what's interesting is the pig has one of the quickest and poorest digestive systems of any animal. It takes only 4 hours, and that's not good. Because the digestive system is so quick and so poor, many times the toxins from the food are not properly eliminated, and they are stored in the pig's fat. That means that pig can eat all kinds of filth and garbage. It can eat other infection. 4 hours later, it's sent to the slaughter and butchered. In a few days, it's on your plate at home. You're having ribs. The problem is the toxins were never properly eliminated from the pig. And then let's talk a moment about pork, ham, bacon, pepperoni. These are some of the things that the Scripture tells us we should not eat. The ushers have already locked the doors. And of course,
now, all praise is due to Allah. I know you just needed to see him. Now, brothers and sisters, we've been teaching this for 82 years. But we still need, unfortunately, the white man's stamp of approval. Let's move on. So now, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad says in this book, How to Eat to Live, that the pig in it, there's a live poison in the form of a parasitic worm called the trichina worm. Are y'all with me? So now, the trichina worm is a microscopic worm that exists naturally in the pig. What do I mean by that? You can't go somewhere and find trichina worms. They don't live in the ground. They don't live in trees. They don't live anywhere other than pigs. If you look it up in the dictionary, it says a parasitic worm that exists in pigs and humans. But the way the worms get in the humans is from doing what? From eating pork. So when a person eats, as Joel Osteen said, a ham and cheese sandwich, right? And the ham actually is the butt of the pig. So you're eating the pig butt. I'm just letting you know. Just putting it out there. So now, when you eat the pig, the trichina worms in the pig are they're surrounded by calcium. They're encased in calcium. So when you eat the pork and your stomach digests the meat, it digests this shell that is surrounding the trichina worm. Are y'all following me? The worm comes out and the worms mate inside of your stomach. Are y'all following me? So the male worms and the female worms mate in your stomach or your small intestines, right? The male worms come out when you go to the bathroom. They come out in the stool. Are y'all following me? The female worms, they live in your intestines for 4 to 16 weeks. And the female worms give birth to small microscopic worms. They call them larvae. You can call them baby worms, whatever you want to call them. So after 4 to 16 weeks, one female worm has anywhere from 1,000 to 100,000 baby worms in your intestine. So now these microscopic worms travel through the bloodstream. Then the worms get lodged in the muscle of the human body. Are y'all following me? So you may have met somebody when I was growing up. I used to have to go to church on Founders Day. That's when all the old people would be there shaking our hands. And I used to hate shaking the old people's hands because they had these big knots all over their hands and their arms. And I would be scared as a little boy to shake their hands. I didn't know what that was. When you get a cyst, and it's not a pimple, because you busted enough pimples to know that a cyst and a pimple is different, right? You try to bust it and you can't. You feel it, it feels like there's something inside, right? Now, when the pork worm gets lodged in the muscle, the muscles of the body curve around or curl up over the worm, and it forms a cyst on the body. The way that the pork worm was discovered, it was discovered in the 1800s. A man was dissecting the human body, and he kept running, a doctor, he kept running across what he thought was glass. He took it out, put it under a microscope, and it was a trichina worm. So the human body, the worms live in the body for anywhere, well, up to, they say, 25 years. I have a picture. Oh, can we go back one? Okay, if you look at that, that's the head of a pork worm. The head of a pork worm has 4 hooks on it. So when it hooks into the muscle, then the muscle curves around the worm, and it's there for 20 to 25 years. It's not a worm that lives in your stomach. So you can't take a pill and kill it, and then it comes out in the stool. There is a worm you can do that to. We're going to get to it. But the pork worm is not that because it lives in the muscle. So now, you may say, well, brother, you know, if I already ate pork and I got these worms in me, then why should I stop eating pork? Because they're already in me. Okay, that's true. Here's what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad says. Once they invade the muscles of the body, right, then they go to the spine, right? Then from the spine, they go up the spine to the brain. And once these worms get in the brain, there is no cure. Are y'all following me? So now I'm going to show you a video of a woman that had a pork worm removed from her brain. Are y'all ready? Let's go.
Savors every minute with her kids. Playing ball and laughing. For this mom, each day with them is a gift after coming too close to death last August.
I thought I had the flu. I started feeling tired.
But within days, this soccer coach and PTA president knew it wasn't the flu.
I started feeling numbness in my left arm, blurred vision. I'm still smiling for my kids, but now I can't get out of bed.
2 trips to the ER solved nothing.
CAT scan came back normal, no problem.
But her husband, George, was scared.
She couldn't eat. She could barely walk to the bathroom. So I knew at that point, you know, she was deteriorating really quick.
It all came to a head on the first day of school as their kids aged 9 through 17 headed back to the classroom. Their mom was in an ambulance headed to Barrow Neurological Hospital after an MRI explained those strange symptoms.
It came back. You have a brain tumor. At that exact moment where my heart fell just completely all the way down.
Dr. Nakaji was expecting to find a brain tumor. He showed me the video as he operated on Rosemary's brain, carefully working, knowing this is the most dangerous spot in the human body to work next to, the brainstem.
Here's the lump, and at this point it still looks like a brain tumor, and so we're just opening up into the inside.
And then the unexpected. No tumor, instead a worm. Watch as Dr. Nakaji grabs the worm and gently tugs it out of Rosemary's brain. It's still alive. You don't hear him on the tape, but Nakaji actually chuckles.
Which I'm sure is a very strange response for the people in the operating room, but because I was so pleased to know that it wasn't going to be something terrible.
This worm comes from eating undercooked pork, but more frighteningly, it can be spread by people who have the parasite in their bodies and don't wash their hands well after using the bathroom. That is the problem.
And it only takes one.
Now, all praise is due to Allah. So, before you get excited, I already know what you're going to say. See, I heard that last part. I left the last part in there just so I could remove this excuse from you. Well, she said that it comes from people that don't wash their hands. You talking about it comes from pork. But she said, what about, okay. So now let me explain. Once you eat the pork and the worms are in you, right? You can only find the worms in pork. That's where they come from. So once the worms are in you, like I just said, that the male worms come out in the stool, right? The female worms, after they give birth to baby worms inside of you, they come out in the stool. So after you go to the bathroom, it is possible that if you don't wash your hands and pork worms are coming out, then you can infect somebody else with those pork worms. But the bottom line, where does the worm come from? It comes from the pig. So now, let's move on. I know what you're saying. Well, if you cook it real good, you can kill the worms, brother. Now, you may be able to kill some of them. You're not going to kill all of them, but now they can put it in radiation and kill every last worm, right? Then you get cancer from radiation. So now, let's deal with the top diseases that come from eating pork. Tell me when you're ready. Okay. The first number one disease that comes from eating pork is heart disease. Heart disease in 2009 killed 785,000 people in the United States. Here's what happens when, there's three that are all related. So I'm going to deal with them interchangeably. You have heart disease, right? You have high blood pressure, and you have heart attacks. I'm going to deal with them interrelatedly. So now, heart disease is when the cells of the heart begin to die. Are y'all following me? There are only two cells in the body that cannot reproduce. Those cells are the heart cells and the brain cells. So once you do something that destroys the heart cells and the brain cells, they're not reproducing. So what does that tell you? If every cell in the body can reproduce itself, you get a brand new cell. The question you should be asking is, why do we age? If you don't have the same skin cells you had 5 years ago, are y'all following me? So if you get a brand new cell every so often, then the question is, what causes us to get old if we get a brand new cell? Are y'all with me? You should not get old if you follow what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches, at least not physically looking old. So now, when the heart cells die, as you can see, there's a black spot on the heart. We just talked about whenever something is dead, right? The dead then starts to affect the living. How do the heart cells die? When we eat pork, then because it's so high in fat, the cholesterol or the plaque starts to collect on the side of the arteries. Let me give you an example. If you've ever had to clean your pipes at your house before, you look down the sink, you're like, man, what is all of that in there? You look down the bathroom sink, it's like stuff on the side of the pipe, right? So only thing that's been going down there is water, but there's dirt in the water that over the months collects on the side of the pipe. So y'all follow me? So now the same thing happens in the body when we eat filthy foods. The filth in the food in the form of plaque. What do you mean plaque? The same stuff that collects on people's teeth. And the dentist brings you in the office and gets that metal hook and does what? That's why y'all don't like going to the dentist. He starts scraping, right? So now the same plaque collects on the inside of the arteries and the veins. So when the plaque forms and it starts to close that vein, less blood gets to the heart, because the heart needs blood itself so that it can live. So when the heart cells don't get the blood they need, then the heart cells die. Are y'all following me? So when the heart cells die, then you have what is called heart disease. Now, those dead heart cells start to kill the other heart cells that are around it, because the dead things are always going to do what? Kill what's living. Are y'all following me? So now, 785,000 people in 2009 died from heart disease. Let's move to high blood pressure. So now, high blood pressure or hypertension, same thing. When those arteries, I know what you're saying, see, my grandfather, he lived to be 83. My grandfather actually lived to be 83. And you think that's old, right? But now, my grandfather, in his aorta, he had some stilts to keep his vein open so that he would not die, because from years and years of eating pork, the plaque had closed up the vein and it would have led to a stroke. Are y'all with me? So high blood pressure, when these veins close up, then the heart has to beat harder to get the blood through the vein that is closed up. You remember when we were growing up and you have the water hose, right? And you bend the hose, right? You're trying to squirt somebody away, you bend the hose to do what? To build up the pressure. Then you let it go all the way over there, right? So now, same thing. When the veins close up, the heart has to pump harder to get the blood through the vein. So these two lead to what is called a heart attack. A heart attack occurs when one heart cell out of the millions, just one, starts to beat off rhythm from the rest of the heart cells. So it messes up the rhythm of the heartbeat and you have a heart attack. So they rush you to the doctor and they get those two metal things, you've seen it, clear, and they put that on your chest and you jump up off the bed, right? So now you think, or we think, that, well, they just did that to start his heart because his heart had stopped. No. What happens is the electrical shock stops the heart completely. And the doctors assume that when the heart starts beating again, then all the cells will beat on rhythm. So if it doesn't, then they got to hit you again, right? Clear, bam, you jumping up off the bed. Then they hit you that third time, and after the third time, if you don't wake up, that's it. You only have a few minutes to live after a heart attack. Are y'all following me? So we got heart disease that kills almost 1 million people a year. We got high blood pressure that killed 61,000 people in 2008. We got heart attacks. Now let's move to strokes. Strokes killed 137,000 people in 2009. Here's what happens when you have a stroke. The vein that goes to the brain, because the brain needs blood. You remember when you were growing up, or at least I remember, you would play this game with your friends. They would sit on your chest, right, until you hold your breath. And then you pass out. And then you wake up and everybody's laughing at you. Okay, y'all didn't do that in Chicago. We did that when we were growing up. They made you pass out, right? Then, man, he kicked you in the ribs when you were asleep. So why does that happen? It is because the brain did not get any oxygen and you passed out, right? So now, when the vein in the neck that takes blood to the brain closes up, then it leads to what is called a stroke, because the brain needs blood to live. Are y'all following me? So when a person has a stroke, part of their brain dies. So this is why they may lose movement. If you've seen family members, they lose movement depending on the side of the brain that the stroke is on. If it's on the right side, they lose movement on the left side. If it's on the left side, they lose movement on the right side. If it's on the right side, then this side of their mouth, they can't control it. They may lose their speech. They may lose the ability to walk, because the cells that control those things have now been what? Have now been killed. Well, when we eat pork and all of this fat or plaque or filth is going through the vein and the body can't pass it fast enough, so it collects on the vein and it closes it up. Now blood can't get to the brain and we have a stroke. I have a picture of a brain. That's the brain of a stroke victim. You see how it's black from the dead cells, right? So now we're moving quickly. What other diseases? Now, you heard of a tapeworm before, right? Tapeworms come from eating pork, and a tapeworm is a worm that lives in your stomach, and it eats the food you eat. When I was growing up, because I ate a lot, as I've already talked to you about, when I would go to the family reunion and eat them out of house and home, boy, boy, you must got a tapeworm. I know what a tapeworm. Boy, you must got a tapeworm. You eat too much. So this is a tapeworm. Now I'm going to show you a picture of a pig passing a tapeworm. There it is. Okay, let's move on. So now, I'm going to go through this next one. When the arteries fill with plaque, it leads to another disease called arteriosclerosis. That's just a big word for meaning the hardening of the arteries. So when you move, the arteries and veins are supposed to be soft and movable, but when it fills with plaque, it becomes hard. So you've heard of Bill Clinton and others that have had bypass surgery. What that means is that a portion of their vein has been clogged with plaque. So the doctor goes in and he adds a false vein, and he bypasses the part that is filled with plaque. That's why it's called bypass surgery. So he attaches a false vein, and it goes over the part that has the plaque in it. But now, if we continue to eat the same way, what's going to happen? That false vein is going to get clogged up just like the real one got clogged up. Are y'all following me? So now, this is for the brothers. You've seen those commercials for Cialis, haven't you? You've seen those commercials for Viagra, haven't you? If you're suffering from erectile dysfunction, there is something that you can do. And soft music in the background, and you know you're suffering. You can just call this 1-800 number, and we'll have your Cialis shipped to you right away. So now, or your Viagra. Now, with Viagra, when they were making it, they weren't making a drug to cure erectile dysfunction. Erectile dysfunction comes from eating pork. I know I'm making you mad. Now, I'm going to explain it. When they were making Viagra, they were making heart medicine. Because when people have clogged arteries and they have to take heart medicine, or they have a stroke and they stick that, my grandmother had a stroke, and they stick a big needle in your chest and inject you, right? With that needle, what that is a medicine that thins the blood, that allows the blood to get through the clogged artery and vein. Are y'all following me? So when they were making Viagra, they were making heart medicine, but in the process, they found out that it helped men with erectile dysfunction. So here's what happens. See, as you should know, and I'm not trying to be filthy, the penis is a gland that absorbs blood. When a man has an erection, all that is blood flows to the penis. So now, whatever restricts blood flow, right, will prevent a man from having a what? Having an erection. So now, if your veins and arteries are clogged with plaque, and the blood can't get where it needs to get at the time it needs to get there, then your wife, though she is fine and voluptuous, or your girlfriend, she's now looking at you like you have a problem. So I got to go somewhere else. I'm sorry. You can't do what I need you to do, right? And you trying like, please, please, and nothing's happening. You need to lay off the pork. Now, this is a cartoon. Now, you don't want this to be you in 15 years. You don't want to be in that situation, nor do you want to be in this next situation. You definitely don't want that to be you. So now, all of these diseases come from eating pork. So let's move on as I go to the last part of what we have to deal with. Not only, and we're making good time, pork is the #1 thing that you need to get rid of. You don't have to wait, get rid of it today. Because the more you eat it, the more it's killing you. I know what you're going to say, but it tastes good. That is because they have laboratories where they make artificial flavors and artificial colors, and they can make anything taste good. We could take your shoe, season it up, and make your shoe taste good. You understand what I'm saying? So now, the main thing that you need to do is remove all pork from your diet. Now I have here, and we're not going to go through the whole list, because you have to understand that the enemy puts pork in everything, mainly what we eat. But here's what you do. When you go home, toothpaste has pork in it, soap, sodium tallowate, which is right here, comes from pork. A lot of medicines have pork byproducts. It's in a lot of places. But here's what you do. The safest way, whenever you are about to buy something, you want to know, does it have pork in it? Everything that you are about to buy has a 1-800 number on it. So all you do, you have a cell phone, you call the 1-800 number, and you ask them, are there any pork byproducts in whatever product you're holding in your hand? And they'll tell you, they'll pull it up on the computer, they'll tell you either it has it in there, or it doesn't have it in there, or they'll tell you what product they make that doesn't have any pork byproducts in there. Are y'all following what I'm saying? Now, it's not like when I first came in the nation. There were very few foods on the market that did not have pork in them. Are y'all following me? But today, because this knowledge has been out there more, that you can go and find a lot of foods that have no pork byproducts in them at all. So let's move on to the second most important thing that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about in these books, How to Eat to Live. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad says in his book that we should eat one meal every 24 hours, one meal a day. If you're a registered Muslim, following the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, we're taught to eat one meal a day. Is that right? If this is your first time hearing this, you're like, man, one meal a day, what? Man, that's crazy. We're going to talk about it. So, brothers and sisters, the Holy Quran says in chapter 2, verse 168, it says, eat the lawful and good things that the earth, or that is in the earth, and follow not the footsteps of the devil. So what does that mean? That means that the lawful things, that's one thing, right? And the good things are something else. Because you could eat a chicken sandwich from McDonald's, and that's lawful, but is it good? Are y'all following me? See, the thing that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad did is he gave us a detailed list of foods we should eat and foods we should avoid. You can't say that Prophet Muhammad gave that information, because there was no Burger King when Prophet Muhammad was around. There was no Taco Bell when Prophet Muhammad was here, right? You have a whole new world of food that is opened up after the death of the prophet. So how can he guide us in this modern world of food? We must have a man that is familiar with this food in order to guide us in this world. Are y'all with me? So now, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, that we should eat one meal every 24 hours. Now, I know the average person eats 5 times a day. But if we're eating 5 times a day, the body can only handle one meal in 24 hours. Let's see, let's bring the math. So, when we eat our food and we swallow it, it takes 3 to 6 seconds from when we swallow it, if y'all right there, to enter the stomach. When the food enters the stomach, it's there for 3 to 5 hours being digested. Are y'all with me? After it leaves the stomach, it goes to the small intestines, depending on what you ate, anywhere from 8 to 12 hours. And then the last part of the digestive system, which is the slowest, is the large intestine, and the food is there from 12 to 18 hours. Are y'all with me? So now, why would this man tell us to eat one meal a day? It's because the body can only process one meal in 24 hours. Are y'all following me? So now, the average American eats 5 times a day. So let's put it on the screen. We start 8 o'clock with breakfast, right? Then we go to lunch at 12, right? Then we have a snack at 3, right? Then we have dinner at 6, and then we have another snack at 10 o'clock. So I know you, when you first walked in, you're like, man, what is all that food doing on the table? We're going to show you what happens when you eat the way that we've been trained to eat by the enemy. Now, you already know there's only one place in America where you could get taught like this. You never learned it in college. You never learned it in high school. is only from the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a little experiment. I need some help. Can you get that plastic bag for me right there? It's already doubled, and I think got the paper towels right here. So now, when we wake up in the morning, you can come on this side, please, my brother. I know y'all are from the show me state, all black folks. Hey, so we gotta see it to believe it. So we wake up in the morning, we're on our way to work, right? We pull in the Dunkin' Donuts. Are y'all with me? So what we do is, we get 2 donuts, and we get us a large coffee. Now, this is how we eat for real. I'm not making this up. This is breakfast. We got to make sure it's digested. This is breakfast going in. So now, that's 8 o'clock. Then 12 o'clock, we've been programmed by the enemy. Remember what the Honorable Louis Farrakhan said. They are killing us by the foods we eat. So now, it's lunchtime. So we pull into McDonald's, right? Now, this food costs me cash money. You pull into McDonald's, 2 quarter pounders for $5. What? Now, I know what you're saying. Man, I already know. Man, I'm really wasting that food. No, what we're trying to do is wake you up so that you can live a long and productive life. So you go to McDonald's. You get your 2 quarter pounders. Hold on. Okay, this is lunch. Having a little problem digesting that beef. Now, everybody knows the best thing at McDonald's is the what? The French fries, come on. Now, McDonald's French fries are treated with beef fat for all you vegetarians that are eating McDonald's French fries. I'm just letting you know. You gotta have the apple pie. Gotta have the apple pie. Now, if this blender is having a hard time, what do you think your stomach is going through? Let's move on. That's lunch. Then, lunch is wearing off, right? So you gotta have a snack around 3 o'clock, right? So you get you a bag of Flamin' Hots, right? Now, we can't even pronounce most of the stuff on the back of the bag, right? All we know is what? Is that it tastes good. Chicago State, you heard the Honorable Louis Farrakhan say that when they make this processed food, when it comes out, it looks like clay, right? But then they add artificial flavors and colors to it that makes it taste. I need you to get the book, How to Eat to Live, book 1 and 2. Get that first. There's another book called Fast Food Nation. In the book, he explains how all of these chemical companies in New Jersey manufacture artificial flavors and colors. When he went to the company, they blindfolded him and they put a little white stick under his nose. And he said it smelled exactly like strawberries. They put something else under his nose. It smelled like hamburgers. Then they put something else under his nose. That they pulled out a grill and started grilling food because that's exactly what it smelled like. He took, and it was a white stick under his nose. Are y'all following me? The only reason it tastes good, artificial flavors and colors, but it's killing you. There's a chemical in here called monosodium glutamate. Monosodium glutamate, or MSG, is a drug that's added to the food that makes it more addictive. This, some of you young people, you wake up in the morning, and after you hit the alarm clock, you got a bag of Flamin' Hots next to the alarm clock. You didn't even brush your teeth. You start eating them. Oh, this fire, man, I like this fire. I don't want to hear what Muhammad talking about, this fire. Then you brush your teeth, right? Now you on the bus. Oh, man, these Flamin' Hots, man, right? You get to the end of the bag, and you see the crumbs at the bottom, and you are so addicted that what do? You drink the crumbs, right? Then you see the Flamin' Hot juice. Your hand. The white man has made you a Flamin' Hot crackhead. Let's move on. So now you say, well, man, I got to eat healthy, so I got to have some water now. At 3 o'clock. Then, around 6 o'clock, what happens? It's dinner time. So, we got to put in. No, man, no, Muhammad, no. You ain't about to put the Harold's up in that blender, are you? Man, y'all Muslims ain't right. We about to put the Harold's up in the blender. For everybody that's watching on webcast, Harold's Chicken is like one of the most famous chicken restaurants in the city of Chicago. When all the celebrities come here, they got to go where? They got to go to Harold's. Now, you know it's not good for you. I'm talking to the Muslims. You know it's not halal if you got a man chasing a chicken with an axe. You already know. Okay. So, where we at? Harold's, right? Now, hold on, I'm so sorry. Wait a minute. I can't leave out the sweet potato pie. Hold on. Now that was dinner, okay? Then we're sitting up watching TV, 10 o'clock at night, and we get the munchies, right? So we head to the refrigerator, and we want to get us a snack. So what do we get? We get some cookies. You all remember these cookies growing up? You do. And we get us some milk. This is the late night snack. I think that should be sufficient. Now, brothers and sisters, what I just showed you, this is how people eat for real. Every single day, people eat just like this. Now, you're not getting away. I'm sorry. I'm not going to let you escape. We're going to pass the bag through the crowd so that you can smell it and so that you can feel it, because this is what people eat every day. You can smell it from here? We want y'all to get more acquainted with it. So we could get one of the brothers, if you all could just walk down the aisle and just let them smell it and let them feel the weight of it. So now, brothers and sisters, as we wrap it up, all praise is due to Allah. So now, at the end, let them smell it too, brother. Don't let them get away. Because see, when your family walks in the bathroom, after you have been in the bathroom, taking a bowel movement, somebody walk in behind you and they run out and want to fight you. Why are they so angry? Because that smell got in their nose started to bleed. Like, how could you smell like that? It is because of the way we eat. Are y'all following me? See, and I'm going to talk about it. At the end of the day, when you get ready to go to sleep, you ate 5 meals, or we ate 5 meals. So where are they at the end of the day? The first meal, breakfast, would be, they're going to put it up here, in the large intestine. Lunch, by the time we go to sleep, would be in the small intestine, just entering, thank you, the large intestine. The snack would be in the small intestine. Dinner would be in the small intestine. And the snack that we ate at 10 o'clock would still be in the stomach. This is why when we go to sleep, and when we sleep, everything shuts down except the brain, right? So when you have that meal left in the stomach, you wake up in the morning, and then you hear this sound. And you say, man, I'm hungry. No, what happens is when you went to sleep, your digestive system shut down. So when you wake up, the digestive system starts again, so it starts to digest the food that you ate at 10 o'clock last night. Are you following what I'm saying? This is why the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us to eat between the hours of 4 and 6, so that by the time we went to sleep, we wouldn't have a meal still in our stomach, rotting overnight. So let's go to the next slide. So now we eat 5 meals a day, and there are 365 days in a year. Then that means that in 1 year, we would eat 1,825 meals. Are y'all following me? So now, if you eat 5 times a day, listen to me, you should have 5 bowel movements in a day. I'm gonna say it again. If you eat 5 times a day, you should have 5 bowel movements a day. Some of y'all don't have 5 bowel movements a month. You thinking like, damn, he right. When did you can't even remember when you had a bowel movement. So I know you didn't come to the mosque thinking you were gonna learn about this, but you're learning about it. So what does that mean? Praise be to Allah. What does that mean? That means if you're eating 5 times, right, and you have 1 bowel movement, that means 4 meals are still inside of you, right? Then the next day you eat 5 more times and you have 1 more bowel movement, that means there's 8 meals where? Still inside of you. Are y'all following me? So now, at the end of the year, we could go to, if we eat 365 days and we have 1 bowel movement, some of us are lucky to have 1 a day. Then that means we only had 365 bowel movements in a year. So where are the rest of those meals that we ate? They're not in space. They didn't disappear. Where are they? They're in you, right? Making you sick. Let's go to the next slide. So now, what does that mean? That means that at the end of the year, there are 1,460 meals still inside of us somewhere. So now, what does that mean? See, brothers and sisters, you may have seen a person, a man usually, with what is called the Dunlap disease. Are y'all familiar with that? That's where his stomach Dunlapped over his belt buckle. So you look at a man with the Dunlap disease, and you should be able to look at him and tell that's not normal. Because if a person is truly fat, that means they're fat everywhere. Their face is fat, right? Their arms are fat, legs are fat, neck is fat, and stomach is fat. If a person is fat in one spot, then there's a problem. There's a disease called elephantitis. If I walked in here and my arm was big, right? It was oversized. And you wouldn't think that was normal, would you? So why is it that when we see a man with a big gut, arms are skinny, legs are skinny, right? But his gut is hanging over his belt buckle, we think that that's normal. Do you know what that is in that man's gut? I'm just gonna tell you, it's doo-doo. He needs to have several bowel movements. Are y'all following me? I know I'm making some people mad. But see, if I was up here telling nasty jokes, most of y'all wouldn't have no problem with that. Or if I was up here with Drake and Weezy and we were spitting some nasty raps, had no problem with that, right? If I was up here with, what's the girl's name? Pinky. Y'all know who Pinky is? Okay, that's good that you don't know, but some of you know. If I was up here with Pinky, you wouldn't have no, Saladin knows who Pinky is. I'm looking dead at you. You wouldn't have no problem with that. So now, but because we're telling truth and we're doing what we're instructed to do, and that's going hard, now we got a problem. Come on. When our people go hard with stupidity. If you go to the club, they're going hard with foolishness. If you go to the block, they're going hard with stupidity. So now why would we punk out when we got the truth that transforms people's lives? All praise is due to Allah. So now, when you have one bowel movement and you ate 5 meals, guess what that means? That means you're constipated. Constipation is not good. That means all the waste is inside of you circulating through the bloodstream, right? And the body can't get rid of it fast enough, so it starts to collect on the veins and the arteries. If you go to the bathroom and when you sit down on the toilet, are y'all following me? And let me say how it's supposed to be. See, when you urinate, unless you have a STD or unless you have kidney stones, you don't have a problem, right? Because it's natural. Everything natural comes easy. All of us are breathing because breathing is what? Natural. But now if somebody's sitting next to you like, then you know, okay, well, that person has a problem because that which is natural for them or natural for us is difficult for them. So you know they have a problem. So now why don't we use that same logic when we have a bowel movement? Are y'all with me? When you or we go sit down on the toilet, it should just slide out. But does it? No. Some of you have to get several books to take with you in the bathroom because you already know it's about to be a what? It's about to be an ordeal. So you got a Vibe magazine. You got the Source magazine. Well, you know, the minister talking about clearing them words. So you take the dictionary in there with you, right? So you sitting down on the toilet and you in there 30 minutes, 45 minutes, right? And you got to you breaking a sweat, right? You grunting to have a bit, that's normal. But you're grunting and pushing and struggling to do what's natural. Then your mama knock on the door. Maybe you should rock back and forth, right? So now you on the toilet, rocking back and forth on the toilet, right? So you could do what? So you could do what's natural. Some of y'all gotta put your leg on the wall, right? While you on the toilet. Some of you go in the bathroom, unfortunately, you gotta strip down, take everything off. To do what? To have a bowel movement. Come on. That should let you know that something is wrong. But since everybody is like that, we figure it's what? We figure that it's natural. So now, all we're trying to do is acquaint you with something that's going to save your life. So brothers and sisters, let me conclude, because I think at this point I've worn out my welcome. I'm just trying to get out of here alive, that's all. So now, let me read to you a verse from the Holy Quran and we're getting out of here, right on time. And see, the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad not only give life, but they save your life. Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? We're not trying to hustle you to make you a part of something. We're trying to do something that's going to save your life. Now, all of the scientists are now bearing witness, 82 years later, that what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad has been teaching is the absolute truth. I got the articles right here. There was an article in, I thought I had the articles. There was an article in Time magazine. Oh, here they are. And the name of the article, the cover was, it should be putting up on the screen, How to Live to Be 100 Years. They got that straight from the book, How to Eat to Live. He teaches you how to live longer than 100 years. Now listen to this. That's August 30th, 2004. They printed that. This man, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, a man taught by God, published these books in 1965 and 1967. But now, they were compiled from articles that he wrote in the 50s. How did this man get that knowledge and the enemy just published it in 2004? Listen to this. The name of the article, Eat Less, Live Longer. In Time magazine, listen to this. If we eat to live, how can starving ourselves add years to our lives? Yet decades of calorie restriction studies involving organisms ranging from microscopic yeast to rats have shown just that. extending the lifespan of the semi-starved as much as 50%. Now, that's something that you read in the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Wait a minute. This just came out in December of 2011. Tell me when you're ready. Okay, it says, eating less makes your brain younger. Whoa! You mean to tell me that what this man has been teaching black people for the last 82 years, now the scientists are bearing witness that what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad got came from Almighty God, Allah. Here's another one from the Times of India. Eating less makes you live longer. Oh, I meant to say this when I was talking about pork. Not only can eating pork kill you, but smelling pigs can kill you. I know you don't believe that. Oh, listen to this. Man dies at hog farm. Fumes suspected. A man at a hog farm, Carlos Ramirez Perez, was found dead after smelling hog fumes. So not only will eating it kill you, but smelling it can kill you too. Let's move on. So now, brothers and sisters, we're closing out. In this book, the Holy Quran, it says in chapter 3, verse 48 and 49, talking about Jesus. Listen to this. It says, and he will teach him, meaning Jesus, he meaning Allah, and he will teach him the book and the wisdom and the Torah and the gospel. So now, the Jesus of 2,000 years ago was taught the Torah, or knew the Torah, and the gospel was revealed to him, but the Jesus of 2,000 years ago was never taught the book and the wisdom. Book meaning this book, the Holy Quran. Are y'all following me? Wisdom meaning the meaning of the book. Jesus of 2,000 years ago was not taught that. So it's not talking about the man from 2,000 years ago. Listen to this. And Allah will teach him the book and the wisdom and the Torah and the gospel, and make him a messenger to the children of Israel, meaning black people. I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, that I determined for you out of dust the form of a bird. Then I breathe into it, and it becomes a bird by Allah's permission. And I heal the blind and the lepers, and bring the dead to life with Allah's permission. Here's the clincher. And I inform you of what you should eat and what you should store in your houses. Surely there are signs in this for you if you are believers. Now here's a man, Jesus, teaching the people what to eat and what to store in their houses. I'm here to tell you that the Jesus that we have been looking for came in the person of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. A man that came to give us abundant life. Not by magic, but by the way we eat. So now listen to what the Jesus would do. It says that I have come to you with a sign. Listen to the sign. I have determined for you, meaning for black people, out of dust the form of a bird, and it becomes a bird with Allah's permission. What does that mean? A bird. A bird, all that means is a highly developed spiritual being. Are y'all following me? If you read the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, he says that Master Farad Muhammad went to Africa and learned the language of the birds. And you've been talking to your parrot and your cockatiel, trying to teach. No, that's not the language of the birds that we're talking about. Language of the birds means the language of God himself. Are y'all following what I'm saying? The language of the angels of Almighty God. Where here's a man that takes something that is dust and he forms it into a bird. Then he breathes into it and it becomes a bird. What does that mean? You look at a man like Malcolm X, a man that was in prison, a man that was of no use for himself or his people, right? All of you want to claim Malcolm. Well, see, I'm with Malcolm. See, I follow Malcolm. You got a ham sandwich in your hand. But you follow Malcolm, and Malcolm didn't eat pork, right? You got your woman out there half naked, right? And Malcolm respected black women. You're not following Malcolm if you're not living. You don't love him enough to live the life that he lived. Are y'all following what I'm saying? The only reason that we honor him is because he's dead, and a dead person can't make a demand on you. But if he was still living, we would be looking at him crazy. So now let's move on. So this man took Malcolm, who was dust, meaning he was something that was worth nothing in the eyes of the white man. And Malcolm was in prison. His brother came to him, his brother Reginald, not like the movie said, somebody named Brother Baines. Please stop. There's no Brother Baines. That's a fictional character. The real way Malcolm found out about Islam is that his brothers and sisters and his half-sister all joined the Nation of Islam under the leadership of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. So Reginald came to Malcolm, and Malcolm was in prison. And he said, look, if you want to get out of here, you got to stop eating pork and stop smoking cigarettes. Malcolm thought he was going to get sick, and they was going to let him go. Notice he's told him to stop eating pork first. So Malcolm comes out of prison. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad writes him a letter. He says, look, if you take one step towards Allah, Allah will take 2 steps towards you. So Malcolm X starts to study the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. He comes out of prison. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad breathes in him, means gives him knowledge from himself, and Malcolm X becomes a what? He comes from prison to a world leader. That's Jesus making a bird out of dust. Are y'all following what I'm saying? So then, all praise is due to Allah. A man named Cassius Marcellus Clay. He's just a regular boxer. He goes to the Olympics. He wins the gold medal. He throws it in the river because he comes home and he's still under the same racism that he saw before he went to the Olympics. But he walks into a mosque just like you walked in, and a man was teaching the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And Cassius Marcellus Clay believed what he heard, accepted it, changed his life. And then he became the man that the world knows as Muhammad Ali. What is that? That's Elijah Muhammad taking dust, taking a Negro, breathing into him, and he becomes a bird by Allah's permission. And the greatest example of the power, the greatest example of God's power working through this man is a young calypso singer named Lewis Walcott, right? Came to Chicago in 1955, heard about this man, Elijah Muhammad, went to Savior's Day, accepted the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? And the man, now listen carefully, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan was not some lightweight musician. Are y'all following me? When the most honorable Elijah Muhammad gave an order that either you get out of music or you get out of the mosque. Now, the last night, listen to me, the last night he had 30 days. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan made up his mind. He had 30 days. The last day, he was playing at an exclusive club for these wealthy Jewish people called the Neverly Country Club, 11 spelled backwards. And the man said, well, let me get it all out of my system. So he sang, he told jokes, he did ballads, he did everything in his repertoire. And a man came to him, and he was the handler of Pearl Daly and Billy Daniels. Now, you young people, you don't know who that is, but they were very popular. And he comes to Minister Farrakhan, and he says, look, I will offer you, this is in 1955, I will offer you $500 a week if you will be in the stable of Pearl Bailey and Billy Daniels, meaning they need you to come out, you open, whatever the case may be. Now, $500 a week in 1955, listen to me, back then, a loaf of bread was a nickel. You get on the bus, costs a nickel. You go to the movies, nickel. Big bucket of popcorn, nickel. Extra large Coke, guess what? Nickel, you had $1, you was balling in 1955. This man was offered $500 a week. Are y'all following me? So he says, well, let me think about it. He goes home. While he's thinking about it, he has a vision. In the vision, there's 2 doors. One says success at the top. And he looked through the door in the vision, and there was gold and diamonds, right? The other one said Islam, and there was a veil blocking what was behind that. So now we already know which one he chose. That was Allah showing him. I'm just trying to get you to see that the man was going to be successful in music, but what did he do? He gave it up to follow Elijah Muhammad. So Elijah Muhammad took that dust, and what did he do to that dust? He breathed in it, and it became a what? It became a bird by Allah's permission. So when the most honorable Elijah Muhammad departed, he gave the Honorable Louis Farrakhan not just the authority, but the authority and the power to do what? To breathe into dust, and then the dust become a bird. So the nation of Islam was gone. The nation was destroyed. There was no nation. But what did Farrakhan do? He breathed in it, and he brought it back to life. All praise is due to Allah. I would like to leave you as I came before you with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. Brothers and sisters, we just have a few questions as we close out. How many of you, by show of hands, how many of you all are visiting us today? May I see your hands, please? All praise is due to Allah. We welcome you here to Mas Mariam, and we always want you to know this is your home. You're always welcome to come. How many of you believe what you heard today to be the truth and good for black people? May I see by show of hands? All praise is due to Allah. Now, those of us who believe what we heard today to be the truth and good for black people, how many of us would like to join or would like to follow the most honorable Elijah Muhammad under the leadership of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan? May I see by a show of hands those of you who would like to follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. Now, what I would like to do is the brother that raised his hand, if the Honorable Louis Farrakhan was here, he would just shake your hand, welcome you to the Nation of Islam. So for the brother that raised his hand, we would like you just to please stand, come down the center aisle, and we would like to welcome you here to the Nation of Islam. All praise is due to Allah.
Brothers and sisters, if you raised your hand, please come on down the center aisle. Please give Student Minister Abdul Muhammad the honor and the privilege of simply shaking your hand. We want to welcome you home to the Nation of Islam. Thank you so very much. All praise is due to Allah.
Now, brothers and sisters, I have to say this, and I meant to add this to the lecture, that what was taught today was the message from How to Eat to Live, was the message from a Savior. The teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad saved our life. We call Master Farad Muhammad the Savior. So what we want to do is we want to invite you out, and Brother Fontaine is going to give you more information. We want to invite you out to Savior's Day, which will be this year, February 26th at the United Center. And our brother, he's going to carry us further on into today's meeting, and he's going to give you more information about that. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.